fast forward a little bit in between and also talk a little bit about like when when you actually went out there and went for the first medal, right? Um, there was certain you'd have a certain attitude towards the game, right? Like you would know about your capabilities and what your strengths really are. And if I just fast forward to like let's say recent games, and you have done actually many firsts for India in this space. So how has the look towards the game actually changed, right? I would love for you to talk more about the mindset, the training methods, recovery protocols, nutrition, all those aspects as well. This is actually really important for Indian athletes, as you mentioned about India in this case, because of course there are domain learnings that an athlete can use from squash, and I think would love to know more about that too. But then sports science in India is pretty new, as we all of us know. So this evolution of mindset, not many people would have actually seen. And coming from you, who's actually seen this across years, would be really, really beneficial to a lot of people.
I think the first thing that I would say is that I've been blessed to have been working with my physical trainer Damon Lee Dale Brown since 2013. I think the reason why I am playing today with the physicality that I do have is all thanks to him. I think obviously there are a lot of subtle variations in terms of what we do now compared to when I was like 25. I can't do a lot of things at 36 that I did when I was 25. But I think the main kind of generic kind of difference is that squash obviously has a lot of impact on the body whilst we play, right? On the joints and the muscles. So all the training that we try and do off court in massive training phases is trying to kind of replicate the intensity of the kind of like hard squash matches, but trying to take the impact away from the legs and the body as much as possible. So a simple thing, like when I was 20, 22, 23, I used to do a lot of like sprints outside, for example, right? A lot of long distance running as well, maybe. I don't remember the last time I've done that. The reason being, obviously, if you're running outside, it's there's still a lot of impact. The only kind of running that I do sometimes is hill sprints, because we as squash players have very, very tight hips. So if you're doing hill sprints, you can't extend the hips as much because you're going up. So hence the risk of injury is lower. So I do hill sprints sometimes in the summer, which is one of the hardest sessions to do, but it's got to be done. But I think more often than not, we are doing more stuff, on stationary bikes, the rower, the Versa climber, things like that, to kind of take the impact out of the legs as much as possible. I also think we've kind of started focusing a lot on the strength aspect and the power aspect of the game. I think the game itself has evolved over the last 4 to 5 years, especially where the physicality has become very, very high, and having that power and strength to kind of like get into the corners and blast out of those corners as well has become very, very important. And obviously, I'm not a really, really big guy. I'm only 5'6", so compared to the other guys, I'm definitely one of the smallest guys on tour. So I definitely need to work extra hard to be able to kind of hold my shape on deep lunges and things like that. So I think that is something that we've worked on considerably, especially over the last year and a half. And that was a very, very key point of focus moving into the Commonwealth Games this year. And I think a lot of good came out of that. So I think on the physical training side, I think that has definitely changed than what I did before. I think working with David Palmer on the squash side of things, I think we do a lot of stuff with high intensity on court so that we can replicate what we might have to do like in matches. And I think that has kind of helped kind of give me a lot of belief and confidence in being able to use my physicality to attack the balls a lot better than what I did before. And I think the combination of these two things has probably made my game a lot more secure today than what it was when I was 25 years old. Today I go into a match knowing exactly, what I need to do, how I need to do it. There is no like stress in my head that whether I can execute this or not. It's a question of now it's just purely a question of how long I can execute it depending on the response from my opponent. Because obviously at the end of the day you need to impose your game on your opponent, and that's how you win matches at the top level. So the how is not stressful anymore. It's a question of how long can I do the how for. So it's kind of like evolved to that kind of point right now, which is a very good space to be in, because you are very confident about the way you want to play, how you want to play, and what you want to do, and in a way it makes it a lot more enjoyable to play hard, tough matches on the world stage. In terms of nutrition, of course, I used to eat a lot of things before which I don't eat now. I mean, 10 years back, I used to have like 6, 8 rasgullas every day, and I can get away with it. I can't do that now. I probably go without dessert, which is a big weak link for me, for like 2, 3 weeks leading up to like big tournaments like the Commonwealth Games, for example. I also, I've been working with a nutritionist over the last 2 years, Krishmi Cheda, and we've kind of done a lot of trial and error and figured out how I kind of react to different foods, how much quantity works best for me in when the matches are, depending on what I can eat before, after, to recover better. My recovery in terms of coming back from hard matches the next day is a lot better today, funnily enough, than what it was when I was 25, which is probably the opposite of what it should be, really. I think nutrition has played a big role in that. I think the mental side of things, I've worked very hard at that over the last year. I've been working with a psychologist, Gayatri Vartak, for the last year, and I think she's helped a lot. The performance, especially in the Commonwealth Games at the bronze medal match, probably wouldn't have happened if that side wasn't looked into in detail enough. So I think that is important. And then, yeah, I mean, I think I'm also doing stuff to kind of train my eyes as much as possible. So I do this thing called eye gym. It's like 7 to 10 minutes a day, but it's basically trying to kind of be really really quick and zoned in to kind of see the ball as quick as I can, and be really really agile. So I think everyone at the top of their game is trying to add the smallest marginal gains that they possibly can, to be the best that they possibly can be, because those small percentages are the difference between winning and losing, at the top level. And I'm no different. I'm trying to kind of give myself whatever little advantage I can possibly can. Whatever's in my control, I try to do that. So, I try to work hard and try to work smart as much as possible. And in the process, hopefully I will win some big tournaments, and push the bar further for Indian squash on the world stage.
Well, this is a great example of training for longevity, right? So, or essentially performance for longevity, which is you are actually going to the extreme levels of your body's capabilities, and sort of like utilizing it during the match. But you're also training not just for one match. Actually, training for 100 matches. You're training for years and years, right? And I think the statement that you made with recovery being better, like now versus 11 years back, it's actually quite phenomenal, right? Because this is what science and data can actually help people with, and I think this is very, you can say, much a beginning of the place where you can say that in the next maybe 10 years or 15 years, if the athletes, the average retirement age is around 44, 45 years, which used to be 37 years, you can say 20 years back. Um, Maybe in the next 15 years people would, this would actually reach around 55, 60. There's a very high chance, maybe, right? I think there are very early signs of, especially in the endurance sport, of people actually becoming better when they actually sort of like develop their game over years and years, and especially 20 plus years. So I think this is a great example for people, especially when they're training, to take a long term mindset towards when they think about their performance, and also for their health. I think there are a lot of similarities potentially in health as well. Of course, here we are talking about marginal gains and the last mile of health. In case of a general, like everybody who actually trains for health and longevity, what they are looking for is easier ways to actually get fit, and probably even for them, taking a very long term mindset and thinking of this as a lifestyle might actually make more sense.